Hello! We were overdue for another tier list video. I love this series. We're going to be ranking a bunch of the internet's favorite beauty products against one another. Part of the reason I love this series so much is because there's so much good makeup, skincare, fragrance, hair care out there that it's kind of hard to determine which ones are actually worth it. And putting them head to head on a tier list helps us differentiate the good from the great. But before we jump into that, I'm so excited to say that there is a sponsor on today's video. So thank you so much to Typology for working with me on today's video. So you're probably familiar with Typology already. They are a French cruelty-free skincare brand. My favorite product from the Typology line was actually a big surprise for me because this isn't generally the type of product I reach for, but this is their corrector. But when I tried this for the first time, I was amazed at how well it evened out my skin tone while not really looking like I was wearing anything. And I remember even before trying this, my friend Simri has been obsessed with this forever. Like every time we're doing our makeup together, she uses this first and she talks about loving it, but I never thought that I would enjoy a green color corrector like this because I don't normally think of redness as being an issue for me, but there's something about this product that evens everything out in the most subtle way where it doesn't really look like you're wearing anything, but your skin just looks a little bit more perfected. And for just a simple everyday look, I like to layer that with the serum tint. I wear mine in the shade Type 1 Fair. This product also contains vitamin C and aloe vera. And then if I want a little bit more coverage, especially on my under eyes, I like to take the tinted concealer, also in the shade Type 1 Fair, and just dot that under my eyes. All three of these I've applied with both my fingers and with tools like brushes and sponges, and I've loved the result, but I feel like they work especially well with your fingers for just a very easy application. And then I finish that lip off with a little bit of their powder pink lip oil. If you're shopping these or any other Typology products, I have a link in my description box that will get you a free bi-phase eye makeup remover with any purchase over $40. That offer is valid from today when this video goes live until a week from now. So thank you so much to Typology for working with me on this video, and let's go ahead and jump into the ranking. Okay, starting off with something that I've been very excited about and I'm like eager to talk about right away, the Byoma Hydrating Milky Toner. This is not new, but I feel like it's been getting a lot of attention recently because a lot of people are calling it a dupe for the Rhode Milky Toner. I bought this because I'm working on a new drugstore video and I have been really liking this. Let me start off by saying I would not consider this an exact dupe to the Rhode version. The Rhode version is a little bit thicker, the texture varies slightly between the two, but I really don't mind that. I feel like this gives me a lot of hydration the same way the Rhode one does. I feel like because this one isn't quite as thick and viscous as the Rhode one, I like it even more in the AM when I'm doing my skincare routine. Like the Rhode, I like to apply at night. It's pretty heavy. I like to do a lot of my heavier skincare at nighttime, but during the day, I don't want anything so heavy under my makeup. I feel like this sits a little bit lighter on the skin, but I have to point that out because everyone's calling them dupes. I don't think they're quite, but it's a fantastic milky toner. I'm really into this type of product right now. Starting off very strong here, but I'm gonna say that this product is worth the hype. I think this is fantastic. It's a great drugstore alternative to a lot of the more expensive milky toners that are coming out right now, so highly recommend this. I have yet to try anything from Byoma that has disappointed me. Is that true? Yes, it is. I really love Byoma. They're a great brand. Okay, moving on. Completely switching gears from drugstore to luxury, let's talk about this from Westman Atelier. This is a cream contour. I have mine in the shade Biscuit. They did send this to me. I did not purchase this, and I probably wouldn't have, to be honest. The full size retails for $48. They do also have a mini. What I appreciate about this is the packaging. It certainly feels luxe considering the price point. It has a lot of weight to it. The lid is magnetic, so it goes on in a satisfying way. But beyond that, I cannot say that I've been impressed by this formula. If anything, I find it to blend out a little bit patchy. The tone is nice for contouring, like it's cool toned without being completely gray. It's one of those cream bronzer slash contour slash blush, like any type of cream product like this, where it's this hard middle point to find. Like I always feel like Goldilocks, where I'm like, it has to be creamy, but it can't be too creamy. I think this falls on the end of being too creamy, where when you blend it out, it kind of just gets muddy. Unfortunately, I don't like this. I don't think it's worth the price. It's certainly usable, but I'm going to rank it under I don't get it. I'm kind of surprised that it's so popular. Next up in the hot seat is new to me, but Phlur Vanilla Skin. I have quite a few Phlur fragrances, and they actually just sent me some PR for the first time, and this was included in there, and now I finally got to test it out. Prior to that though, I wasn't familiar with vanilla skin. I mean, like I had never smelled it before, even though I know the internet is obsessed with this. This seems to be the most loved scent from Phlur, at least what I hear from people. It used to be Missing Person, but now I feel like people always are raving about vanilla skin. Personally, I love Missing Person. It's one of my all-time favorite fragrances. I don't like this. I mean, it's fine. I love a gourmand. I'm very much a vanilla girl, but I tend to like a vanilla really tied in with some other scents, and this for me just feels so one-noted. Like all I get is this very sweet, almost kind of like powdery vanilla. It doesn't feel complex. It doesn't last that long on me. Granted, it is a body spray and they're not intended to last that long, but I find that to be a drawback overall with most Phlur fragrances. I have pretty minimal wear time with most of their scents. This reminds me a lot of the vanilla from Skylar that is also a crowd favorite, but I personally don't really like it. So I'm gonna put this in, I'm back and forth. I'm like, is it average or is it I don't get it? I think it's I don't get it, because there are so many other vanilla perfumes and other gourmands that I would recommend before I would ever consider recommending this one. And when I got it, I was like, oh, this is the scent everyone's so obsessed with. Okay, new-ish from Kosas, the tinted versions of their powders. So the baked powders have been a favorite of mine from Kosas for years. And in 2024, they launched 3 new shades. I almost said flavors. I had to stop myself from saying they launched 3 new flavors. They launched 3 new shades. The lightest one is a pink. They also have a yellow and a peach. This is intended to be used as a brightening powder, but I also find that the pink gives a little bit of color correction on my under eyes. It also helps seamlessly fade in the blush if I'm opting for a pink blush that day. This has been a big favorite of mine right away. I think it really just smooths and perfects the under eye so well. Now I will say, I don't use this as my setting powder. I have already set, 9 times out of 10, I have already set my face with a loose powder. And then if I want to do a finishing touch and add something that I think is going to really blur it, pull everything together, give me some brightness, I layer this on top. You could set with this, but it can be tricky depending on how, I know people hate the word moist, I'm sorry, how moist your under eye is. Like if you've used a very creamy, dewy concealer and then you try to go in with this, or honestly, most pressed powders, it's not always gonna work well. You might wanna opt to use this as a finishing powder. But for that purpose, it's so beautiful and brightening. And I am going to say, this is always the hard part. I'm like, am I impressed? Or is it worth the hype? I try to be really discerning, really picky, really harsh in this series. And I want you to know it's somewhere in between the two, but I think we're gonna stick with I'm impressed, okay? I'm impressed. It's a very good under eye setting powder. Not setting powder, oh my gosh, I just explained how I don't use it as setting powder. It's a great finishing blurring powder, okay? Good job, Kosas. Actually though, I wanna talk about this. I have a speed reviews coming up soon, but I'm just not ready for that yet, okay? We have a few more things that I'm trying to finalize my opinions on, but let me talk about this again. I briefly talked about this in another video, but full thoughts, application, all of that will be in that speed reviews coming to a channel near you soon, okay? But the new brightening under eye color correctors from Kosas. All right, so much like the powder, this is a shade extension of an existing product. So I've loved the Kosas concealers for a while, but one thing I've actually always said about the Kosas concealers is the shades are bizarre. The warm undertones are so yellow, and the cool undertones are still relatively yellow. Like, they could work on color there. And unfortunately, I find that to be my qualm with this as well. So I have the lightest shade, which is called Magic, which is the pink. Now the next shade down is more of a peach. And for the right skin tone, I could actually see the peach being fantastic. But what I run into with this pink is that it actually makes my under eye darkness look so much worse, because the pink mixed with the blue of my under eyes has now created purple, and it actually just looks more prominent. Like, it does nothing to color correct. I think it was kind of strange to do such a pink shade for this purpose. Like, this needs a little bit more orange in there to then counteract the blue. That's why I love like a peach color corrector, My favorite go-to color corrector is still the Sigma one. Let me grab it. This one, you can see, I have like actually giant pan in this. I'm almost done with this side. I'm gonna be sad when I am. If you are looking for a color corrector, get these. Do not get the Kosas one. I mean, okay, maybe the peach is better, but don't get the pink. If you have fair skin, do not get this pink, especially if your concern is blue, okay? So I'm gonna put this in, I don't get it. I think they needed to tweak the undertone of this just slightly, bring in a little bit more peach or orange, and like, I know I just raved about the pink powder doing a really great job of brightening and a little bit of color correcting, but I think it's different because at this point in my makeup routine, by the time I'm applying a powder, I have already color corrected, I have done all of that, and this is just a finishing touch. Ooh, okay, two. Well, I'll rank them individually, but these two are friends, obviously. Not even friends, these are related. This is the Makeup by Mario foundation and the concealer. Which one do I want to do first? Let's do the foundation first. Let me start off by saying this is not a great shade for me, so that probably influences my thoughts on it a little bit, but regardless of the shade, I have not been impressed with this foundation, okay? So I have the shade 4C. I don't really get the hype of this foundation. It can look a little bit heavy on my skin. Doesn't always sit that well, especially with my dry patches. Coverage is fine, it's buildable. Truly, this is such an average foundation in my opinion. There's nothing spectacular, there's nothing stand out about this. I could name 10 foundations at the drugstore that perform better than it, in my opinion. I don't really get the hype here. I really don't. I'm gonna have to put this in the category of its average. The first time I tried it, I was like, oh, okay, this is it. This is the foundation everybody raves about. It did not knock my socks off, and maybe because it had so much hype, I was expecting more, but this is a completely average foundation, in my opinion. But the concealer, I actually don't like this. Okay, spoiler. I have mine in the shade 170. It's a nice brightening shade for my under eyes. This separates so badly on my under eyes. Like it just clings to everything, settles into my lines, and then kind of just like separates between them, especially with any dryness. Like maybe if you have oily skin, you will like this more than I did, but if you already have dry under eyes, I don't think this is the answer. Like I wore this the other day and I went to dinner and I remember going into the bathroom and being mortified when I looked at my under eyes. It looked like I had like stripes under my eyes because of the way the concealer like clung and wedged itself into the lines under my eyes and then was like disappearing from the other spots. It looked horrible. So this is going in, they lied to us. Okay, more base. Huda Beauty Easy Blur. I love this. You know I love this. I talked about it in my Best of Beauty for 2024. This is a phenomenal foundation. I have compared this to the Fenty Eavesdrop foundation. It's very similar to that with a higher level of coverage. So if you like the finish from that foundation, there's a high likelihood you will like this product. It's really, really beautiful. I will say though, when my skin is at its driest, it's misbehaving. This is not its friend, okay? So if you have super, super dry skin, you are prone to peeling and flaking, this will not sit well on top of that. Because when my skin is there, which it was quite a bit in January, this was not its friend. Outside of that, it is such a blurring, perfecting, beautiful finish of a foundation. I love this product. I'm like, is it worth the hype or is it? I'm gonna put it in worth the hype. Like I said, there are a few days where I know this is not the foundation I want to reach for depending on where my skin is, but that being said, like when I am wearing this, it always looks perfect. And because I know my next question is going to be, what foundation do you wear when your skin is there when I'm peeling? The real answer is nothing's really going to sit that well over peeling, flaking skin, but if I am at that state, Fenty Soft Lit is the one I reach for. Okay, the new Refy Lip Blur. Right away, this product fell out. And that's what I've heard from everyone. I don't think I've seen a single person that has said that this has stayed in the container. That being said, I make a point to be careful with it, but for the price of this, I have to say that's unacceptable. Right away, I could not put it in the top or even the second spot because it shouldn't be falling out. Like they need to fix that. But I like this concept. I like how blurred it is. I like that it kind of gives that diffused look. I think this style is gonna be bigger and bigger throughout 2025 and beyond. I do like this product. I don't think it wears that well, especially when compared to my other lip liners that aren't quite as creamy as this. So I'm gonna put it in the category of its average. Let me just say though, if you want that very blurred out, effortless look, you can achieve it without having to buy this or even like the Rhode one, which I know is like slightly different because it's more contour tones. But what you can do Take a small, precise eyeshadow brush. This is the Singe E11. Dip this into a lipstick that you already have and just kind of blur it onto the lip line. Or if you want to achieve the same look as the Rhode one, you can use a cream contour from your collection. Again, just blur that onto that lip line. Okay, next up, the Glossier Lash Slick. I feel like this, along with honestly a lot of Glossier's line, was ahead of the curve, you know? People weren't quite ready for this style of very natural mascara when it launched, but I feel like in later years, as a more subtle lash look has gained popularity, I'm seeing a lot more people raving about the Lash Slick from Glossier. So I was really excited to try this one out, and I have to say, as someone that also loves a minimal, just very lengthened lash look, I get the hype. I think this is a really beautiful mascara. It gives me decent hold. It could be better. It could be better. That being said, my eyelashes do stick straight down, so this is up against all odds, but I do think it wears pretty well. My only thing that stops me from putting it in the top category is that it flakes. Glossier, if you could fix that about this and you could get it to stop flaking, it would probably be my holy grail mascara. But I just end up getting little black dots on my under eyes throughout the day. I have to just wipe it away. I'd prefer flaking over smudging, sure, but I also have mascaras that do neither. So I certainly can't put this in the top spot, but I do really love the way it makes my lashes look. So I'm going to put this in I'm impressed. I also have to say, I have filmed this series so many times. Like, I filmed so many videos in this series. I keep the same scale, and yet I can never remember. I'm like, what are my rankings? I keep having to look at my notes. Should we stick with Glossier? I realize I never ranked You. This is obviously a cult classic perfume, one of the internet's favorites, Glossier You. We'll pop the notes on the screen. I really do get the hype on You. The thing about this, it's supposed to smell so different on everyone. That's why it's called You, but I can't say it smells like night and day different when I notice it on other people. I mean, that's the thing about perfume. They are all gonna smell a little bit different on everyone, but I can still normally pick it out. Like if I'm walking down the street, I smell someone, I'm like, ooh, she's wearing You. You actually reminds me a lot of one of my other favorite perfumes, which is Clean Reserve Radiant Nectar. These are very similar, but the Clean Reserve comes across a little bit more sweet, whereas the Glossier has more of that peppery note coming through, but I do get this. I'm gonna say, I'm impressed, it's worth the hype. I'm impressed, it's worth the hype. I do wear it a lot, actually. I wear it a lot. I have another mini of it that's almost empty. Okay, wait, this is hard because I also do love You Do, which is their new one. And I like You Do even more than You. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm putting it in worth the hype. I think it's worth the hype. I love Glossier You. I don't care if that's predictable. Like, I get why this is so many people's favorite. It's so good. Another foundation. Okay, this little egg. This is the Polite Society More Than a Pretty Face foundation. I've seen so many people on the internet rave about this one. I was so excited to try it out. I don't really like this. It's not bad. It reminds me a little bit, honestly, of the Makeup by Mario foundation, but with a little bit more coverage to it. I just don't think this does my skin any favors. I think it looks a little bit heavy when I wear it. It's certainly not a skin-like foundation. And my petty complaint about this is I hate the packaging. Why does this have to be so ginormous and just like the most bizarre shape? Just to compare it to the Huda Beauty, which I think is a realistic size for a foundation. Like, this is just so big and bulky. It's very hard to store in my drawer. And I know that seems like I'm getting picky here, but those things do matter to me with a product, and I just have not been impressed with this. I don't get it, okay? I'm gonna say I don't get it. I would say actually the best product from Polite Society, and I haven't tried everything, but I've tried a lot of the line. The best product that I actually don't feel like anyone is talking about is the powder. The powder is very, very good. I talked about this in another video recently. It's the More Than a Pretty powder. Oh, because this is called More Than a Pretty Face. This is called More Than a Pretty powder. I get it. This, I'm not officially ranking because I don't think this is that hyped up, but it should be, and I would put this in worth the hype. Like this is a product that should be hyped up. Okay, that's my ranking. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you to Typology for sponsoring this. Be sure to check out the link in my description box, especially to snag the free makeup remover from now until next week. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.